The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to the ACM SIGUX webinar. Today's webinar will be led by Robert Fricke from Whitman College. He's going to share his presentation, Connecting Students to Life Beyond the Campus Walls. Before I turn over the microphone to Robert, I've got just a few housekeeping items to share with you. First of all, everyone is in listen mode. You're all muted. Actually, Denise ended up unmuted. I'm not sure how, but Denise, keep it down. We are going to accept questions throughout the presentation. So if you want to send me a quick hello in the question window, that will help me ensure that I can see you guys hear me. Oh, there's Alan. Okay, so you guys can hear me. Excellent. Good. So let me update you about a few SIGUX news and information. We have several more webinars scheduled. The next two are listed here. And at the end of May, we're going to talk about communicating effectively. And in June, we're going to learn about identifying core competencies. Excuse me, just one second here. My slides are automatically. There we go. You should be thinking about people to nominate for SIGUX awards. The Penny Crane Award for Distinguished Service and our Hall of Fame awards are both accepting applications at this time. I believe you've got about another month and a half to submit your nominations for these SIGUX awards. You also can nominate your information technology communication successes for the SIGUX Communication Awards. I tend to nominate my department for several of these awards. It's a great opportunity to recognize the work your department is doing on your website, in self-help documents, videos, and the awards are judged by last year's winners. And in addition to an opportunity to get a sweet award for your department, you get feedback about your submission, and that is incredibly valuable to hear from other colleges what they think is good about what you're already doing. We have announced, as you know, our SIGUX annual conference. Robert and I were talking about how cool that it's going to be in Orlando, Florida, and actually right on Disney property. Registration for the conference will open up in about 3 weeks. It will be, I think, May 21st is the Monday that it opens. Our authors are already working on their papers and presentations for the conference, and the conference committee has been planning just a fantastic conference for this fall. This slide shows our keynote speakers. Jeffrey Salingo. Robert, I bet you have read his book, There is Life After College. He's going to be talking about life after college. And Geraldine Fitzpatrick is an ACM distinguished speaker. She'll be talking to us about human-computer interaction. So those are our keynote speakers for 2018. We also have pre-conference seminars scheduled. We have announced 3. The third one was just announced yesterday. We have a really unique opportunity to be led by the Disney Institute and shown many excellent examples of Disney customer service. Their customer service, as I'm sure you're aware, is legendary, and you'll have an opportunity to see some behind the scenes business that make the magic happen. So that's a great opportunity. Also a pre-conference seminar on becoming an inspirational leader, and one on project management for non-project managers. So if you've been interested in project management or have been assigned a project to manager, that pre-conference seminar is a great jump start into the lingo and all of the things you need to know about managing projects. The hotel, like I said, is right at Disney property. It is not, unfortunately, the Hollywood Tower, which is probably safer for you as far as sleeping in the rooms. When you stay at Disney, you also have access to some really great amenities. All conference people who stay at the hotel can use the Magical Express from the Orlando airport to Disney, which I've done with my family several times. And my favorite part of that is that they deliver the luggage to your room, so you don't have to wait by that baggage carousel crossing your fingers that your luggage will be delivered. It just shows up in your room a few hours later. There also is a fantastic bus service available to all of the Walt Disney property, and you can purchase discount Disney park tickets. I would like to encourage all of you to join SIGUX if you're not currently a member. You get some great conference discounts and pre-conference seminar discounts. You also have access to all of the papers presented at the conference, such as the one that Robert is sharing with us today. And you also can participate in the SIGUX mentoring program. Here's just a reminder of the different ways that you can keep in touch with us. For example, the email listserv, the Facebook community, and Twitter. So at this point, Robert, I'm going to turn things over to you. So let's see how this works.
How's that look?
That looks great. And I'm going to mute myself, Robert, although I'll be hopping on and off talking.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Like Lori said, we're going to talk about connecting students to life beyond the campus walls. I'm not going to read the rest of that title. It's way too long. So let's kind of just get jumping into it here. A little background. Whitman College is a small liberal arts college in Southeast Washington. We're located about 4.5 to 5 hours from Seattle by car in the small town of Walla Walla. Our population here is about 35,000, and we're well known for our 160 plus wineries in the valley, as well as sweet onions. And there are two other colleges in Walla Walla. There's Walla Walla University and also Walla Walla Community College, which is ranked one of the top community colleges in the nation. Whitman itself has approximately 1,500 students and approximately 600 staff and faculty, where the sciences are our most popular majors. And within the last couple of years, we've also added the ACS major. Our IT department consists of 26 full-time staff, about 35 student staff, of which 22 to 24 of those are the ones that I manage and are the focus of this presentation. Here's just kind of a quick little map overview of the campus itself. It's pretty small. So moving on, who am I? I am a 2003 graduate of Washington State University, where I received my BA in education. My focus at the time was on elementary education, but realized when I was doing my student teaching that elementary ed is not exactly where I wanted to be. But I never lost that passion for education itself. So I got into IT actually through working at a small local bank in Spokane, Washington. And from there, I moved into an IT role near Walla Walla in the small town of Milton Freewater, Oregon, doing some stuff for the educational school district down there. And then in 2009, I started work here at Whitman. So let's give you a brief history of how the student consultants at Whitman were when I started here. Generally, they were used as just kind of a general lab attendant. So they just kind of sat in the computer labs on campus, stock paper, toner. They were there to answer the occasional question from students that might stop by. and not many of them ever worked the help desk, our main help desk. That was mostly staffed by our full-time IT staff here in Tech Services. Some other things about them, there was no formal training for any of them. So really it came down to this passing of the knowledge from year to year, from student to student. This really had a kind of an inconsistent knowledge base, and it really became a system of just passing along bad habits. So basically they were there to be chair warmers. Most of them just kind of sat there, did homework, and would occasionally check out a laptop or answer a question about some printing. So in April 2011, I actually had the opportunity to take over the management of the student consultants. Since it was so late in the school year, I started out by just doing kind of some observations and really getting my mind around what was happening with our students and how their role could be better used. So I finished out the rest of that school year of April 2011 and actually took the 2011-2012 school year to kind of really start getting the brain juices flowing, figure out what I wanted to do with them. So I assessed the various roles that the students had, which were the lab technicians, what we call supply runners, our library techs, the few that were on the help desk, and then our student manager positions. I knew that improvements really could be made with the roles they had, how they were trained, and how we could make this a real job and with marketable skills for them. So I wanted to create a program that would benefit both the students and our tech services department and the campus as a whole. So just kind of a quick look here. This is standing in the front doors of our campus library. If you look off to the right, when I started, our students were housed in a little closet, just kind of tucked away in the right-hand side of the building with, at the time, no signage. I eventually got some signage up there, but that really didn't help draw too many more people down that way. So eventually, we were able to get them pulled out and moved to this desk, which is direct front and center as you walk into the library. So when that happened, that really upped our traffic to our desk, and it really highlighted the need for more and better robust training for the students. They were getting asked more hardware and software questions and more printing questions, and generally they were getting a little bit overwhelmed out there. So now came the time to start talking about creating a training and formalizing how that was going to happen. So I wanted to create some goals, first of which would be create a tiered system of training. This would allow students would start at a certain level, do some training materials, and then work their way up to other positions within the institution. I would also create a system of consistent and standardized training that all students would do. So this would eliminate that whole passing off of knowledge from one student to the next and that kind of passing of bad habits. 3, I wanted to create a program that would create a workforce ready staff. Most of the students that come to work for me have never had a job before us. So I wanted to get them primed and ready to leave the campus with skills and knowledge of how to be a good employee for their future employers. 4, I wanted to create a work experience, again, that was resume worthy. 5, treat and use the student staff like every other full-time staff. When I started, a lot of our student staff were actually not even noticed by most of the full-time IT staff in the department, and they were just kind of looked upon as being kind of the grunt workers. Here, go break down a box or run some paper, whatever it might have been. So in the late fall of 2012 and through the summer of 2013, I put together a task force of myself and 5 student staff and tasked them with comprising a list of skills that were essential to their positions. They came back to me with actually a 7-page long list that included topics ranging from Microsoft Office to GoPrint, which is our current printing system on campus, to customer service skills and networking. We took that 7-page long list and we pared it down, and then we wanted to work out the various ways that we would actually do the trainings themselves. So we had discussed lynda.com as being a possibility for some of that, but unfortunately, Lynda is not exactly cheap, and so money actually became a factor there. So we settled actually on a combination of making up our own written materials on our wiki, and then creating exams that we're distributing and collected through our LMS, and then some classroom and one-on-one materials. All the exams that were created were going to be graded by me, and progress was tracked by me in a Google spreadsheet. One other thing that we needed to figure out was also how to incentivize the training and why would they want to work up the ladder. Again, money was out as budgets were tight at the time. So around that time, EDUCAUSE had a webinar discussing badging. I approached the student staff with that, and they liked the idea of it because it kind of gamified training a little bit. It was going to be a way for them to show off their progress and kind of create this like challenge between themselves to see who could get their trainings done first, who was in the lead, etc. So, and a good thing about badges is that we could match that up and align it with how we were going to tier the trainings themselves. So I signed up for a Credly.com account, which was free for its basic use, and went on from there. So next few slides, we're going to talk about the various badges that we came up with. So the first group, this is for the supply runner. So this is our very entry-level position. As a student that gets hired on with me, you are slotted into the supply runner position. And so some of the trainings that they will do include etiquette and expectations. So what it means to work for us, how to, make sure you're coming to work on time, come dressed appropriately, take a shower, stuff like that. We get into the basics of Word and Excel, and then also printer maintenance, since that would be kind of the primary focus of their job is to maintain the printers on campus. And then we eventually added a couple of new badges into that, and those would be computer setup. So giving them the opportunity to deliver brand new computers to campus offices, making sure they're being set up correctly and working as they should. And then also large format plotter training, since we have 2 of those on campus and we're the primary people that take care of printing for conference goers in our science department and psychology departments mainly. So from supply runner, they can work up to library tech desk. So this is our student run and student focused technology desk there in the library. So if you remember back a few slides at that, the picture of the library, this is those folks. Here we get a little bit more upper level on the Word and Excel. The Word badge on this one primarily focuses on the thesis, pagination and stuff like that. So it gets a little more in depth on how to use a Word and formatting for the thesis purpose. We get into using Acrobat Pro and a little more in depth on how to use our ticketing system, etc. Finally, students who express interest or I feel would be a good fit can work up to working at our main help desk. So typically about half of my 22 to 24 students are ever trained at one point to actually work our main help desk. Here they get into learning phone etiquette, also how to use Bomgar, which is our remote desktop system, and then a little bit more about like Word, Excel, etc. So, and then with our badges, we also created some that are not really job specific, but can be a little bit more on the fun side, and or can be like a nomination process. So for instance, we have a mentor badge. So students every year can nominate another one of the student consultants that they work with as a mentor. So someone they feel like kind of helped them out and was someone that they looked up to. We have one called a worker bee. So this might be given out to the person or student who worked the most hours for the semester. And then we give out ones for working over the summer. Our bronze, silver, gold, and platinum techs, those are our years of service awards. And then the one up at the top there called Mad Props goes out to students that might get acknowledgement from a staff or faculty member on campus for doing a good job. So here are some lessons learned from doing all this. So from the initial setup of this, I needed to find a way to display these earned badges. With the Credly.com free account, basically these badges could be assigned to the students, but no one ever saw them except for those students. So there was no real incentive or way for them to kind of compare with each other. Grading the quizzes and issuing the badges to 22 consultants was difficult for myself to do alone. Like I said before, I was the one who was taking on those quizzes, making sure that the students were where they needed to be in their trainings, etc. And that got really overwhelming very quickly, especially with just having like a Google Doc. Again, and this kind of highlights that as well. Keeping track of the progress was time consuming. Having no set due dates on the trainings was also a bad oversight on my part. Letting students just kind of do trainings when they feel like it means it never happens. So I kind of had to overcome that. So this is what I kind of came up with to answer those. So I asked for some funds to purchase Credly Pro. With that, I also gave a summer project to one of our students to integrate the badges into our scheduling system, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. For the grading of the quizzes, I handed off some of this responsibility to our student managers. This would give them more buy-in and use is not the right word I'm looking for, but anyway, so handing off some of more responsibility to them. And then keeping track of the progress, move to an online system. Again, I'll talk about this in just a moment, where I'm not sitting there having to manually keep track of all of this stuff. And then created due dates and set expectations on when things need to be done from the beginning. So with the Credly Pro, summer of 2014, I gave a help desk student who was interested in coding work to overhaul our scheduling system while also integrating the badges from Credly. So when he was completed, consultants each had a clickable profile. Here's an example. This is mine on that system that showed their name, pulled up their official school picture, their email address, their phone number if they provided it, and like you can see here, their earned badges. To make sure that each of the badges actually displayed, each student had to sign up for a Credly.com account, and they needed to use their school email address. Every consultant could now click on the name of every other consultant to garner all of this information, and it easily allowed them to locate students who were trained in the positions they worked for, and for shift covering, etc. So I'm going to jump out of here for just a second, and I'll show you that scheduling system. Excuse me. So this is our homegrown little scheduling system. So this is what the student came up with, who kind of did the revamp. Simply clicking on any of these students would bring up their profile and their earned badges. You can see I still have a little bit of issues, just kind of keeping track of who's done what. So for instance, Connor here has been doubled up on a couple of the badges that he's done, but yeah. Library, etc. So back here. So one of the next things I needed to figure out was how to make the assigning, grading, and testing of the consultants easier. Doing this all on my own, like I said, was a little too time consuming, and I handed off some of this to the student managers, but still for the three of us to kind of keep everything aligned and figured out was being a little bit difficult. So SIGUX in 2015, let's see, where are my notes here? My apologies. Jessica Morger from the University of Wyoming did a presentation titled Consistency and Convenience, Use of Canvas in Help Desk Training, Help Desk Staff Training. Her presentation introduced me to the Canvas LMS. And so when I returned to campus after that SIGUX, I kind of investigated it a bit further. And so what sold me on Canvas was, one, I could get a free account. My campus doesn't currently use Canvas, so finding something that was cost effective and robust was key. And this being free was a complete bonus. Within Canvas, I can create multiple courses. So having that tiered system of going from supply runner to library tech desk to help desk would be really easy to build out and schedule out for those students. Students can then be assigned to specific courses. Assignments, readings, quizzes could all be created within a course and assigned to all students in that course at once, and instead of individually. So before I was individually handing them out one by one to each person. This way I could have them set up as a group within a class and assign them that way. Canvas does automatic grading and tracking of scores. So if you set up a quiz within there, it'll automatically tell them, hey, this is what your score is. My rule of thumb is if you don't have 100% on it, you need to turn around and take it again. And they can keep taking it as many times as necessary until they get 100%. Seems a little overkill for some, but my thought is the more times you end up taking it, the more ingrained it's going to get into your head. And then within there, I can also create due dates. So part of creating all of this program, one of my goals from the beginning was to make sure that the students would come out with a resume-worthy job and skills so they're ready for the workforce. So my next step was to make sure that they could take these skills that they had gained from working with us and then put them onto a resume. I reached out a couple years ago to our campus career services department and worked with them to do a resume writing workshop where it could be demonstrated, so where they could demonstrate the various skills that they were garnering here at the job and put them on a resume. So our first workshop was held in the spring of 2015, and I had 20 slots available for signups, and all of them were filled, which was amazing. And then what I realized from that, though, was that doing a resume workshop wasn't something that would make sense to do every year. So I decided to do it kind of every other year. That would give the opportunity for us to put in another workshop, which was interview skills. So I worked with one of my fellow colleagues here in Tech Services, and we created the interview skills workshop, and that was held the following spring. In that workshop, we covered everything from interview etiquette to what to expect during an interview, what to do after an interview, and then we also provided our own anecdotal experiences, being on both sides of the interview table. Each attendee of the interview skills workshop was also given the opportunity to sign up for a mock interview where they could sit down. We would then give them feedback and tell them what they did well, where they can improve, etc. So the initial workshop for the interview skills was only attended by 7 students, but we felt that that was a good enough number and created enough good conversation that it felt worth doing again. So every other year, we now do one workshop or the other. Spring of 2017 was the second time we did the resume workshop. It was highly attended again, and then this year, just a couple months ago, we went ahead and did the interview skills workshop again, and it's, I want to say, had about 10 attendees, so it was a good turnout. Another thing with creating this program was that I wanted to make this a working document, and what I mean by that is that I wanted to allow this program to never become stagnant, and allow for changes to be easily implemented. We all know that the tech field is always changing. You know, there's new software policies, new hardware, et cetera, that are being created constantly. Also, this gives me the ability to add or remove positions. Again, with the tech world, positions change, being able to morph or add or remove a position is very much needed. And then again, it prevents stagnation. So creating a training program is not a one and done. Just need to make sure that you can constantly analyze and reevaluate your program and make sure it's not getting stale. Finally, I felt it would be great to find a way to connect the current student consultants with the student consultants of the past. So I created this, a private Facebook page where I invite current and former student consultants to join. The forum is used to post jobs, connect students with alumni. It's also an opportunity for me to stay connected to past staff and to create events and meetups in cities that I travel to when I'm away for work or even just for pleasure. Here is a picture of one of those meetups. This was actually at the hotel there in Seattle for SIGUX this last fall. And all of the folks that are in this picture, I came to realize are all in IT in some way or form, which I thought was pretty awesome considering at the time there was no CS or any kind of a computer major here on campus. So my lessons learned and takeaways from doing this. Start by observing. Figure out what is working and what is not. Create goals. What do you want to get out of doing a program like this? And what do you want the students to get out of this? Take your time. Realize that this doesn't happen overnight. Implement things slowly if you can. Everything that you've seen here has taken better part of 5 years for it to completely come together. And it's still changing and growing, and which is exactly what I wanted it to be. Analyze, assess, and then reanalyze and reassess. make this at least an annual habit, if not more often, of your training program. Again, just to make sure it's not getting stale or stagnant. Be flexible. Things can change on a dime in the tech field, so you need to be able to change quickly with it. Get to know your student staff. Find out their interests and see if there are opportunities that you can give them beyond the normal day-to-day of the job. Maybe you have some coders. Maybe you have people that are really interested in hardware repair or analytics. Maybe you have someone who's really into virtual reality or augmented reality, video production, whatever it might be. See if there are opportunities that you can give your students to gain some more skills. If you can, involve your students in the process. They care more about this than you might think. This also gives them a sense of ownership into the job and the materials being taught. And last but not least, have fun. Just some quick special thanks to some people that helped me out with this entire thing. And then that is actually it. Questions? And thank you all for attending and listening to me.
Hey, that was a lot of fun, Robert. I actually have 2 questions while we wait for questions to come in. Can you go back to the page that had all of the big list of badges on it? That was so much. I wanted to take actually a quick screen. This one. Okay. Are any of your badges ones that students came up with?
Actually, a lot of them are, because all of these came out from the that initial group of 5 or 6 of us that sat down and created this program.
Yep.
And they're actually the ones that design these badges too.
Is it pretty easy to design the badges in Credly, or do you have to do the graphics outside?
No, it's super easy. They have all of the formats, and yeah, it's pretty simple.
The only one that I cannot figure out is the non-striker.
So the non-striker, we work on a 3 strikes and you're out deal.
Okay. Yep.
That's kind of a way to encourage people to not get a strike.
Okay. There you go.
Show up to work on time, etc.
Sure. Sue wonders, how often do you meet with your student staff, and when do you meet with them? Like, do you try to do it during business hours, or does it happen on the weekends?
Sure. As a whole group, my 24, it's really hard to get them all together because of scheduling. So as a large group, I get together with them once a semester at the least. That is where we go over scheduling and kind of new changes, et cetera, that need to happen. And then for my help desk staff, I actually get together with them once a month. And we sit down and we do a help desk meeting and go over tickets that have come in over that last month. I've started bringing in special guests as well. So folks that work in the IT department right now that they may never actually see, and giving them the opportunity to see these people, get to know who they are and what they do. Mm-hmm. And then I just started implementing this year. I'm meeting with each individual student at the end of each term to kind of give them a kind of a sit down, see how everything is going, kind of an informal job review, I guess you could say.
Cool. Eric says, can you tell us a little more about your day-to-day responsibilities? I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around how do you have time for all of this?
Some days I wonder that myself. Yeah, because, gosh, my day-to-day. So I'm managing 24 students, plus managing the help desk, plus taking care of tickets. Yeah, some days it doesn't feel like I have enough time to do it all. Yeah.
It sounds to me like working on it with the students was a big helper to getting it off the ground.
Oh, absolutely. And every summer I have my summer staff help me out with going through and reevaluating it, making sure everything's still accurate, doing any modifications that we need to do so it's ready to go for the next school year.
Eric says good luck with all of that.
Thank you.
Walt wonders if non-striker is a badge they can lose.
Oh. I have never thought about that. I do this on like a semesterly system.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have gone a full semester without getting a strike, then they get the award. So no, it's not something I would turn around and take away from them.
Gotcha.
So they can get this multiple times.
Okay. How many hours per week do your students work? At where Sue is, they get about 6 to 8 hours per week.
Yeah, that's about the average of my students. I have some that work 3, and I have some that work up to about 19. But the average is somewhere around like 7, 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Sue wonders if badges are only awarded at the end of the semester.
The special ones are only at the end of the semester. All the other ones are throughout.
Okay. Nick wonders if you have plans for more workshops, and if so, what are they?
Not currently, but I'm always open to new ideas.
Do you require badges for some of your positions? So say, for example, your supply runner wants the next level job. Are you making sure that they're ready to go to the next one?
Yep. So everything so here on the supply runner, they have to finish all of these.
So when they finish
before
these,
they can move on.
They can move on. Okay.
Then they can move on. Yep.
And then you finish these and you can move on there. Eric is suggesting a turkey badge if a student gets 3 striker badges in a row.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Bring on the bowl. Yeah, right on.
I get what he's going for. I like the idea. So has this been motivating do you find the students are motivated by badges?
They are. I think they were more so back a few years ago. I'm actually looking at kind of paring this down a little bit over this summer, and actually getting rid of a few of these and sticking to more of like the top end one, instead of giving a badge for every single one of these little areas. Still make these requirements, but not get a badge for them.
Sure.
And just go for the upper level instead.
I try to tell myself that I'm too cool for badging. Like I don't need that to motivate me. But then I find, like, I was at the Canvas conference last year, and they had where you could take pictures of different locations, and the QR code took you to get a badge from Credly. And gosh darn, if I wanted every single badge. I wanted that completeness. So I wonder if to keep it fresh for the students, if maybe you had some sets of badges that got you a, badge with a ribbon or a gold star or.
I don't, but that's a good idea. And the interesting thing is with Credly now is that it actually connects into LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So badges that show up there can actually be connected to your LinkedIn profile.
Our campus.
And that's part of my motivation for getting rid of some of these, so they're not getting overloaded on their LinkedIn. Yeah. Our
campus is getting Credly for the campus, and we're going to be looking at ways to tie it in. The authority to grant them, I think, is going to be a sticky thing from a campus wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Adam Gunther wonders, has this significantly improved the visibility and status of your students to your professional staff? Lack of respect from professional staff and faculty was a feedback from some of our students that they wanted to see improved.
Yes, it has vastly improved. They're seeing that they are gaining a lot more knowledge and are more consistent with the information that they have. They're a lot more professional, and it seems like our IT staff especially, respect them a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Well, do we have any other questions for Robert? Sue says, you're doing good work. Thank you for the ideas.
Oh, thank you, Sue. And honestly, a lot of my ideas came from just going to SIGUX and just kind of piecing together what everybody else has been doing and making it fit for what made sense for my group.
Yeah, this is really fantastic stuff. So we recorded this webinar, and next week we will be posting it on our YouTube channel, and I'll announce over social media when that's ready for people to view. Thanks again, Robert. It was great catching up with you in the off season, so to speak, and I really appreciate you sharing your expertise and your fantastic program for your students.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you everybody for who came.
All right, everybody have a great afternoon.